Yeah. Here we go, man. They say blindness and borders happen in Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. It's almost time, man. Everything about to change. That's for real. The truth about to be revealed. Come on. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about that time that the whole world find out who he is, putting unbearable burdens on the backs of our kids. I finally found out why they hate me so. Got me locked up in cells and won't let me go. Separate me from my woman, multiply no more. Same thing was done in Egypt by the rule of Pharaoh. They say this people Israel, multiply like the sands. Let's kill it firstborn and tie all their hands. Lest they become better than us. Uproar and revolt and scatter our guts. So on came the conspiracy to kill Israel. 2006 up in America, their plan is well. Got my city popping, birth control just like Skittles. Telling them to avoid what they carry in the middle. My people, a nation that be scattered and peeled. Soon the curse gonna be lifted, we gon' all know the deal. That's right. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change.
Question: why do the heathens rage and the people them imagine vain things? The kings of the earth and the rulers seek counsel. Them speak the words, but it shall not amount to. It's murder, or the streets full of blood. No love. These killers full your body with slugs, them now budge. Or use them want be pimps and thugs. Me beg your teach your daughters and your sons. As prophesied, them want kill off me nation. King Alfred and him friend them a plot extermination. Operation lockdown, but how me people no see. Soldier man and policeman them a flood the streets. World a suffer then, because of famine in the land just for the bread of life. But enough no really overstand, me tell them get it right. Still them don't give a damn, sing praises to I am that I am. Hey, yo.
Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. And time came for the saints to possess a kingdom. Yeah, yeah. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change.
Now stay tuned for our featured presentation.
Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, till old
The fall of the daughter of Rome. Many people have been taught that America per se is not mentioned in the biblical scriptures. This doctrine is not only anti-biblical, it is anti-historical. America, since shortly after its inception, has historically been a world power. Surely such a great world power would find itself written about somewhere in biblical prophecy. Nations located in Africa, Asia, and Europe were all foretold of in the scriptures, and certainly America too is prophesied about, and in detail, even her ultimate fall. The same teachings that omit America biblically also ignore the so-called blacks or Negroes biblically. These downtrodden, afflicted people are the one and the same Hebrew Israelites of the scriptures. Just as the Hebrew Israelite or so-called Negro nation began with the forefather Abraham, so also began the first biblical prophecies of America. One of the first prophecies of America in the scriptures occurs in the book of Genesis, where America is referenced to as the unknown land of bondage, and in the dream that the forefather Abraham received regarding the future of his lineage. This prophecy is repeated in the book of Acts.
Acts chapter 7, verse 6. And Elohim spake on this wise, that his, being Abraham's seed, should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years.
This land that Abraham's progenitors were taken to was America, to dwell in bondage for 400 years as a punishment for their disobedience. This land of America was the notable land that at that time was unknown. Africa, Asia, and Europe had been traveled to and traded with often. The land of America was that land that Moses warned our people, the Israelites, about in Deuteronomy chapter 28.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 49. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
The historical chatted slavery is this unknown land of the Americas that was prophesied about in detail, also in Deuteronomy 28.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
The Most High God, Yahweh, offered our people the choice of great blessings if we were diligent in keeping His law and followed His word. Yahweh also promised us severe punishment of curses if we chose to be rebellious and follow after the nations and their pagan ways. Regrettably, our forefathers chose to rebel. As a result, we were displaced from our homeland of Israel, and we find the so-called black man and woman consistently at the bottom of every positive statistic and at the top of every negative one.
Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 25 through 28. Because thou hast forsaken the covenant of Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, for they went and served other gods and worshipped them. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled, and Yahweh rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day.
America was given the gift of Hebrew servitude. But just as other nations that were used as a punishment against the rebellious Hebrews, America did not respect her gift and vigorously mistreated the Hebrews, the so-called Negroes. This too was prophesied of, as well as Yahweh's retribution to this nation, America, for her ill treatment of His people.
Isaiah chapter 47, verse 6 and 11. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Therefore shall evil come upon thee.
Truly, because of America's great atrocities to Yah's people, as well as because of her multitudes of paganism, she will see her just end. Just as ancient Rome fell, the one-time great world power, so will the daughter of Rome, America, fall as well. America's replication of ancient Rome has been evident throughout American society since before its inception in 1776. From America's Roman democratic system, with her 2 houses and a senate, to her Roman governmental architecture, to her lust for world domination, to her Roman-like self-indulgence, to her quest for astrology, and to her Roman Catholic Protestant religions, America has truly imitated her mother Rome, and done so without any thought to her latter end. The prophet Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, spoke about America, Lady Liberty, and her disregard for her actions and their results.
Isaiah 47, verse 7. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it.
Even America's present decline follows the same pattern as ancient Rome's decline centuries ago. Rome's supposed democratic government was inundated with corruption and greed, which was followed by the extreme self-indulgence of the elite class. This was echoed loudly in American society, where corporate corruption is the order of the day. In 1980, the average corporate CEO earned 42 times the standard working person. But in 1990, the average corporate CEO earned 85 times the corporate standard working person. But in 2004, the average CEO earned 431 times the average working person. This same type of outlandish inequality is shown in the Forbes magazine annual issue, 400 Richest People. In 2006 Forbes Richest People issue, it featured for the first time ever all 400 people listed were not millionaires, but all 400 were billionaires.
Psalms chapter 73, verse 7 through 9. Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than heart could wish. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth.
Ancient Rome's system of massive slave retention helped to promote 2 classes, the ultra-rich and the slaves. America has enacted an attack on what's left of her middle class and has privatized prisons for the purpose of returning to a 2-class society as well, an elite class and an enslaved or imprisoned class. A report in 2006 stated that there were at that time over 2.2 million people incarcerated. This number did not even include the 1,000 new people being imprisoned each week in America. America's prison system is the largest in the world. This is true even though America's population is 4 times as small as China's.
Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith, Restore.
America has even imitated ancient Rome in the area of environmental decay. Ancient Rome, in its own self-indulgency and greed, was responsible for destroying the port city of Ephesus. The constant cutting down of the local trees around Ephesus for the use of burning them to heat the infamous Roman bathhouses caused the soil from the hills to continuously wash down into the harbor, so much so that it eventually filled harbors and made them unusable. Even today, the city stands miles away from the actual coast and is certainly not a port anymore. America's same type of deforestation and other environmental ills are causing like destructions today. America's pleasures, both natural and spiritual, are sending her head first to her fall.
Isaiah chapter 47, verse 8 through 9. Therefore, hear now this. Thou art given to pleasures that dwellest carelessly. that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments.
America has fully adopted the religions, rites, and ceremonies of her mother, ancient Rome. Her sorceries and enchantments include good luck charms, rosaries, hypnosis, holidays, seances, and many more. The ancient empire of Rome practiced a religion that focused around sun, moon, and star worship. This is evidenced in the following epistle speaking of the Roman city of Ephesus.
Acts 19, verse 35. And when the town clerk had appeased the people, he said, Ye men of Ephesus, what man is there that knoweth not how that the city of Ephesus is a worshipper of the great goddess Diana, and of the image which fell down from Jupiter?
Even though the ruler of Constantinople later declared Christianity to be the official religion of the Roman Empire, he did so because he incorporated all of the symbols, rites, and doctrines of the prior sun-worshipping religion into the new religion called Christianity. This goddess Diana that the Ephesians were worshiping simply took on another name. This goddess's new name was Eostra, only to be later changed again to the new name of goddess Easter. And the Romans continued to worship the goddess Diana only under a new name, goddess Easter. This is the same goddess Easter that modern-day Americans today worship, while unknowingly thinking that this holiday is focused around the rising S-O-N, sun, and not the rising S-U-N, sun. This is also the case in all the other so-called holidays and doctrines that are not sanctioned by the Most High God Yahweh, according to His holy scriptures. This astrological, celestial worship that is practiced today was prophesied about in the book of Isaiah.
Isaiah 47, verse 12 to 13. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee.
One of the most telling ways in which the daughter of Rome, America, has imitated her mother has been in empire building. Just as ancient Rome reached across many lands to occupy and indoctrinate all peoples, so does America. America, with her military prowess, has become the hammer of the whole earth. The scriptures have even prophesied about this in regards to America's fall. America is referenced to as Babylon because, like ancient Rome, she has taken on the persona of the original Babylon, the mighty striver against Yah.
Jeremiah 50, verse 23 through 24. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found, and art also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh.
Just like ancient Rome, America has reduced and closed military bases all around her own shores, leaving America without proper protection, while steadily increasing her number of standing armies around the world. This is how Rome was defeated. America is now even building 14 permanent bases in Iraq. Her lust for oil is not for her citizens' consumption, but to power her foreign military machines. This design makes it easy to see how the prophecies of America being invaded will come to pass. The book of Isaiah speaks to the fact that America has never been invaded, having virgin shores.
Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Isaiah 47, verse 1 and 3.
Yahweh will destroy America for her many transgressions. He will send the armies of the north, Russia and China, to defeat her.
Jeremiah 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. For thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as of a mighty or expert man, none shall return in vain. Verse 26. Come against her with the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left.
America's many acts of violence can only be exceeded by her tremendous idols, graven images, and pagan gods. She is known as the land of graven images.
Jeremiah 50, verse 38. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is a land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols.
America has taught and spread her paganism like a disease across all borders.
Jeremiah 51, verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Before America's fall, both Yahweh's people and Hebrews, black man and woman, will be given the opportunity to leave and escape the daughter of Rome's fate, and be cared for and retaught Yah's ways in the wilderness for 3.5 years, if we are obedient.
Jeremiah 51, verse 45 through 46. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of Yahweh. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear of the rumor that shall be heard in the land, a rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Revelation chapter 12, verse 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Revelations 12, verse 14.
The other nations dwelling in America will flee to their respective countries.
Jeremiah 51, verse 6 and 9. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will not render unto her a recompense. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. Her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies.
Europe will be ashamed of her daughter. America will be a desolation.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 12, 13, and 15. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Yahweh it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at all her plagues. Shout against her round about. She hath given her hand. Her foundation are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Yahweh. Take vengeance upon her. As she hath done, do unto her.
The awakening of the bear.
Hello, and welcome to the Watchman segment of our program. You know, today many people are talking about peace on earth and goodwill toward man, but when we look at the things that the kings of the earth are doing today, the kings of the earth are causing wars all over the earth as they battle with the Antichrist Muslims in the Middle East, And we can very well see the results of that war that has been going on for the last 5 years, as mankind, as these Gentiles over here, is trying to put democracy, which is the footstool of Christianity, into the Middle East. People talk about peace, but the best way to have peace is to leave other people and their cultures alone. And this is what's happening in the Middle East today. Europe and America, the powerhouses of the Christian church, are trying to set democracy in the Middle East, and the democracy is nothing but a broken down republic. This has been the longest democracy that has ever been upon the face of the earth. But how can the nations have peace and Yahweh's chosen people, the children of Israel, the true Jews, have been brought over here as slaves and are now held captives in this country, which the Bible calls the daughter of Babylon? And this is the reason why the Messiah has to come, to free his people, according to the prophets, to put out all rule on the earth, and to free his people and set them up, and set up a righteous governmental system on the earth, because man can only have peace among themselves if he walk in the laws that Yahweh our Elohim gave. But man choose not to do these things because of his capitalism and because of his freedom of religion that he has. And when we look at Christianity, anybody who believes that you're not under the law, you are under grace, then you have to ask yourself, law speaks of judgment. We know that there's going to be a judgment day one day, but and what standard is Yahweh going to use to judge the whole world? He's going to use the law that is written down in your book. And this is the reason why man has no peace upon the earth. Not only does he have Yahweh's chosen people in captivity, but all the things that Yahweh told us to do, the Gentiles has put other things in their place and taught us to do these things. But let me read some things to you that's going to bring about peace here upon this earth. And man can't bring about peace. I'm 69 years old. And I've never seen a time when some of the nations on the earth weren't fighting against each other, simply because this king don't want to deal with that king on certain levels. And the common people are the ones who suffer the most from these things and the ones who don't have any power. But let me read some things to you that that was said by the holy prophets that's going to bring peace upon this earth and goodwill toward all men. This is Zechariah chapter 14. Behold, the day of the Lord comes, and your spoil shall be divided in the midst of you. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So what he's talking about here is the fulfillment of Revelation chapter 13, the new world order that's being put together. They call it the EU now. We're watching this thing being put together simply because it's almost time for our deliverance, and the prophets told us everything that was going to take place just before the Messiah comes. People say the Messiah can come any day. No, he can't. He cannot come until certain prophets be fulfilled. So here we read in Zechariah 14 that Yahweh say he's going to gather all nations against Jerusalem, his holy city, to do battle. Verse 3. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as whom he's fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. Now remember, the Mount of Olives is the same place that the Messiah ascended from when he ascended into heaven, when he left the apostles in Jerusalem. So as we see, according to the prophets, he's coming back to the same place he left from. Once he appeared from under the clouds, then the dead in Christ is going to rise up to meet him and the angels, and then those that are alive and remain is going to be caught up together with them in the air. But the Messiah is coming to the Mount of Olives to take this earth back from Satan's children, the kings and rulers of this earth. And truly, Satan is the prince of this earth. This is why man is almost about to destroy himself with global warming And with all of the pollutants that he have all in the seas and in the airs and so forth, this is why the Messiah has to return and save his people before these nations destroy us, because we are the only nation of people on the face of the earth that's not represented any place in mass by anyone. In other words, we are the people that are at the disposal of all the nations upon the earth, because we don't have no king, no prince, no land of our own, and no economic base in our neighborhood. They move us to and fro as man will. And the Messiah has to come and put a stop to that so that man can have peace on the earth again. Verse 5, and you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal. Yes, you shall flee as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with him. Now remember, he's bringing the saints, but they're going to stand on the Mount of Olives. Everybody talking about every time somebody dies, people say they go to heaven, but when you read the book, Christ himself said, no man goes to heaven except him who came down from heaven. Verse 6, and it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known unto Yahweh, not day nor light. But it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea, and summer and winter shall it be. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from Yahweh shall be against them, and they shall lay hold everyone on the hands of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hands of his neighbor. Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse, the mule, the camel, and the ass, and the beast that shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came up against Jerusalem shall even come up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So you can very well see, once the Messiah come and set things in place, the nations are coming up to observe Yahweh's law and to do the things that Yahweh said that man is going to do on this earth in order for us to have peace. And all of these things are written here in this book. But let me read something to you out of the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 11, and I'm going to start this at verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and of understanding, and the Spirit of counsel and of might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yahweh. And he shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor. In other words, he's going to judge the earth by Yahweh's law. And reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall smite the earth with the rod of his lips, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reign. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. Well, if there's going to be that peace among to where a little child can lead wild animals on the earth and won't be destroyed, then we know that there will be peace all over the earth. Like I said before, the only way that mankind is going to have peace on the earth is that the Messiah come and put on all of these secret organizations that run the earth, along with Lucifer's children, that makes all the policy upon the earth. And these are some things that our people don't get off into church, is the secret societies that do run the earth. And the reason why they don't get off into these things is simply because we don't know who we are. And the Messiah even told us some things to watch for before his return, and nobody is watching. Verse 8, this is Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 8. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh as waters cover the earth. Now let me read you something else in chapter 14 of Isaiah that was said once the Messiah returned, so we can see how peace and prosperity will be set in this earth once he returned. This is Isaiah chapter 14, and I'm going to start this at verse 1. For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And strangers shall be joined with Israel, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Well, today, all of the things that we do show that we have joined on to the things of the strangers instead of the strangers joining on to us. Well, how could they join on to us when we over here as a people are calling ourselves Afro-Americans and Gentiles and so forth, not knowing that we are the Hebrew Israelites, the chosen people of God. And when you don't know who you are, people can deceive you into believing anything. Verse 2, Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 2. And the people shall take Israel and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaidens. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. See, this is the reason why they keep you out of the prophets in the church, because they don't want you to know that the things that Yahweh had to say was pertaining to the redemption of his people and the setup of a one-world governmental system on this earth that's going to rule the earth for 1,000 years. So man concocted that lie that everybody's going off into heaven. Well, if they believe that they are, and if this is what they teach, then truly they're not teaching what the Messiah said, because the Messiah said, no man goes to heaven except him who come down from heaven. All of the prophets speak of, the major prophets speak of the Messiah returning and saving his people out of captivity and from the four corners of the earth, and setting up a governmental peace system on this earth that's going to bring peace and prosperity to the whole of mankind that's going to be saved for 1,000 years. Only the righteousness of God brings peace. Isaiah 14 and verse 3. And it shall come to pass in the day that Yahweh shall give you rest from your sorrow and from your fear and from your hard bondage wherein you were made to serve, that you shall take up this proverb against the king of America and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Yahweh has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet, and break forth into singing. Yes, the fir trees rejoice at you, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since you are laid down, no fellow has come up against us. In other words, since Yahshua had returned Israel back to the land, then no people is going to persecute the children of Israel anymore once the Messiah returned and set up this governmental system the way that the prophets say it's going to be done. And this is why the nation don't want you to know who you are and don't read the prophets, because the nations worship the adversary, the devil. This is why they changed the Sabbath day from Saturday to Sunday. This is why they don't keep Yahweh's law, but they turn around and tell me that lie that Christ was born December 25th, and according to the Bible, he was born in the summer. And then we also went off with that Santa Claus thing, and we know that Santa Claus is a God that has reindeer that fly. The church tell that lie, as well as we raised up our children on that same lie. And then we go into Easter. for the resurrection of the Messiah. And I want to know, what has rabbits and eggs got, those are fertility symbols, what has they got to do with the Messiah? But we got these, this is why the earth, sin is running rampant on the earth today, because man don't want any peace. Man is looking for wealth and power. And this is why America is phasing out the middle class, so you only have the rich and the poor. And we know what happens to any people when you only have the rich and the poor. And what happens is that the poor is eventually destroyed. And here we are, we don't have any legal representation of our people, no place before anybody on the face of the earth. Yet and still, we the proudest people upon the earth and believe anything except the truth. Let me read something to you that's going to happen that he said pertaining to America. I'm going to go into Isaiah chapter 47, and I'm going to start this at verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Europe. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Aryans. For you shall no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind meal. Uncover your locks. Make bare your leg. Uncover your thigh. Pass over the rivers. Your nakedness shall be uncovered. And what is America's nakedness? Her nakedness is who she brought over here as her slaves and who she have in captivity today, being the children of those slaves. Your nakedness shall be uncovered. Yes, your shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance. I will not meet you as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit you silent and get you into darkness, O daughter of the Aryans. For you shall no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was angry with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into your hand. You did show them no mercy. Upon the ancient have you very heavily laid your yoke. And you said, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not lay these things to heart, neither did you remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, thou that are given to pleasures, that dwell carelessly, that say in your heart, I am, and no one else besides me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come upon you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you in their perfection for the multitude of your sorceries and for the great abundance of your enchantments. And when you read the prophet Jeremiah 50 and chapter 51, you find out that compared with Isaiah and Isaiah 47 and Isaiah 13, you find out that he said he's going to stir up the Russians against America, and they're going to destroy her in 1 hour and 1 day. But just before that happened, Yahweh said he's going to get his people up out of here. The problem is, when 30 or 40 million of us leave here, who is going to allow us, accept us in their land? They have our history here in this country, especially that of the civil rights and the hip-hop generation that we face today. Verse 10, for you have trusted in your wickedness. You have said, don't nobody see me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it has perverted you. And you have said in your heart, I am, and none else besides me. In other words, I'm the big hammer of the whole earth. I'm global cop. I am the number one superpower. Therefore shall evil come upon you. You shall not know from where it rises, and mischief shall fall upon you. You shall not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon you suddenly, which you shall not know. Stand now with your enchantments, and with the multitude of your sorceries, wherein you have labored from your youth. If so be, you shall be able to profit. If so be, you mayest prevail. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, and the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from these things that shall come upon you. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm it, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto you with whom you have labored, your merchants from your youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, and none shall save you. In other words, when this problem comes upon America, then the nations that are over here, they're going to start to abandon her and go back to their countries. The problem with us as a people is we don't have any place to go in mass. But Yahweh has always said that he was going to save his people and bring them out of this captivity. This is what the coming of the Messiah was about, to redeem Jacob back to him, and then to send the children of Israel to the world to teach the people. The children of Israel, our fathers, were the ones that wrote the Bible. Our fathers were the ones that went up into Europe with Paul and Peter and those brothers and taught the Europeans, and then they called us Christians, and then they destroyed our people and took over this thing. And if you read the history of the bloody crusades that they fought all over Europe, Asia, and Africa, you find out that it was nothing but conquering other people's lands for gain and giving those lands to Pope and emperors and so forth and so on. The same thing they did when they came over here. The Christians came over and murdered off the Indians, took their country, and set up a governmental system, and then went and got them some slaves and recorded the worst slavery in the pages of history. But we fought to integrate among these savage people here in this country. This is why Yahweh told us to learn not their ways, because these are the people that have shed blood all over the earth. We as a people, we haven't been at war collectively with anyone except ourselves for the last 2,000 years. But let me read you something else that was said in the prophet Isaiah. I'm going to start, this is Isaiah chapter 49 and verse 8. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh, in an acceptable time I have heard you, and in the day of salvation I have helped you, and I will preserve you and give you for a covenant of the people to establish the earth, and to cause to inherit the desolate heritage, that you may say to the prisoners, Go forth. To them that are in darkness, show yourselves. They shall feed in the way, and their pastures shall be in all high places. They shall not hunger, nor thirst, neither shall the heat or sun smite them. For he that hath mercy on them shall lead them, even by springs of water shall he guide them. And I will make all my mountains a way, and my highways shall be exalted. Behold, these shall come from far, and lo, these from the north and from the west, and these from the land of Asia. Sing, O ye heaven, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singings, O mountain. For Yahweh has comforted his people, and have had mercy on his afflicted. But Zion said, Yahweh hath forsaken me, and my Adonai hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget you. Behold, I have graven you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are continually before me. Your children shall make haste. Your destroyers and they that make you waste shall go forth of you. Lift up your eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together and come to you. As I live, said the Adonai Elohim, you shall surely clothe yourself with them all as with a garment, and bind them on you as a bride does. For your wastes and your desolate places and the land of your destruction shall even now be too narrow by reason of the inhabitants, and they that swallow thee up shall be far away. The children which you shall have after you have lost the other shall say again in your ears, the place is too strait for me. Give me place that I may dwell. Then shall you say in your heart, who hath begotten me these, seeing I have lost my children, and am desolate, a captive, and removing to and fro? And who hath brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. And these, where had they been? Verse 22, this is Isaiah 49 and verse 22. Thus saith the Adonai Elohim, Behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, and set my standard to the people. And the Gentiles shall bring your sons in their arms, and your daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be your nursing fathers, and their queens your nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of your feet. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, for they shall not be ashamed that wait on me. Shall the prey be taken for the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith Yahweh, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contend with you, and I will save your children. And I will oppress them that oppress you with their own flesh. And they shall be drunken with their own blood as with sweet wine, and all flesh shall know that I, Yahweh, am your Savior and your Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. So as we can very well see, what Yahweh talks about is the return of the Messiah and setting up a governmental system here on this earth. And that's not what people want to deal with, is that having righteousness set in the earth because of man's evil ways and because of man thriving to be control all the wealth on the earth, because wealth is his power. And I got one more piece I'm going to read here for you. It's in Isaiah chapter 14, and I'm going to read this right quick for you. It says, for Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaidens. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall give you rest from your sorrow, and from your fear, and from your hard bondage wherein you was made to serve, that you shall take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how has the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? Yahweh has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continuous stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hinder it. The whole earth is at rest, and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at you, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since you are laid down, no fellow has come up against us. So we can very well see that man will not have any peace on this earth, any lasting peace, until the Messiah returns to put down all rule and to save our people out of captivity from the four corners of the earth and set us back up in our land as the ruling power from Jerusalem, Israel, as also says the prophets in this great Bible. But the reason we don't get these things is because the churches that we go to, the Christian churches, they are set up by the adversary, the devil. This is why they changed all the things that Yahweh said we should be about, and then fed us back their mess. My name is Yaakov ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the Culture Center of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel. Peace. Yahweh be with you all.